Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Voices in My Head, the podcast with Basil Sands, where he talks about audiobooks and all this stuff. And today, it is episode number 37. 37. That's a 3 and a 7, and we have a very special man here today. Bertold, tell them who the special man is. All right, the special man is Mr. Dion Graham, and he is right here getting ready for... Mr. Graham, Dion, where did he go?
Well, yeah, hold on a second, Basil. I think I can work this out. Hang on one second.
Oh, there he is.
I'll be more.
Okay, now we can start the show. Go ahead, Mr. Basil.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Voices in My Head, the podcast where we talk about audiobooks, audiobook production, narration, goofing around, throwing audiobooks at each other, all those kind of things. And today we have Dion Graham joining us for the show. Welcome, Dion, all the way from New York City.
Hey, Basil, how are you?
Good. How's things been going for you out there? Is winter finally over in New York?
That is a great question. As I'm looking outside today, it seems like real spring is here. It's a beautiful day. It's sunny. The buds of the trees are out, and I see some actual green leaves, which is nice.
That is nice. We don't got that yet up here, but you know, it's Alaska. What do you expect?
Exactly.
So I've been trying to get you on the show for a couple years now, and finally our schedules came together. This is like a serendipitous interview. And so
happy.
Welcome aboard, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So how did you get started in audiobooks? I mean, you've got quite a record. I got your IMDb thing up here. You got like a ton of credits for TV, movies. You've done a lot of stuff. What brought you into the world of audiobooks?
Well, I was doing a show in London, not quite 20 years ago, but nearing that now. I was doing a Lost Tennessee Williams play called Not About Nightingales at the Royal National Theatre in London. And through a mutual friend who was in the show with me, I met another guy who's a friend now. In fact, there's no secret, his name is Stephen Crossley. He's also an audiobook narrator. And yeah, that's when I discovered that he lives part-time in London, part-time in New York, and narrates in both places. And I just thought, oh, that sounds really great, like a lot of fun. And I asked him to make an introduction, and he did when I got back to New York. And, that's how it all began. I had no idea that I would fall in love with this wonderful work the way I have, and that, people would have so much appreciation for it too. It's really great. There is another little story I could tell you. That's how I got into doing this. But I did record the first thing that I recorded in quasi audiobook land, at least. A friend of mine, after we had finished our training as actors, I think it was probably about a year or so afterwards, maybe 2 years, asked me to over one Christmas holiday record James Joyce's The Dead. And I remember the last day being at my parents' house, and the last day before needing to go back to New York, I was like, oh yeah, I need to do that. And so I was there in my robe recording it, and then sometime later, after a while, we listened to it in the dark, and we were both like, that's pretty good. So now you have kind of the whole story.
Well, that's pretty cool. So you got to basically, that was almost like doing the Sean Pratt, so you think you want to be a narrator test. And you got that out of the way and realized you like being in a dark room all by yourself talking.
Yeah, the fortunate thing for me, and I know it's not like this for everybody, is that I'm almost never just by myself in a dark room. And I'm very fortunate that at least I get to go into a studio, and I really give it up to my friends who have to be in the dark room all by themselves talking. But yeah, it's essentially the same.
Yeah, basically. In your case, you got someone staring at you while you're talking to yourself.
Yeah, or at least someone in my ear saying, yeah, you did that wrong.
It must be nice. Well, you're in the perfect location for basically all types of acting for the most part. Right down there where you're at, you got all the producers, all the studios, and all that stuff right nearby. Uh, do you sometimes wish you could do more in a home studio of your own, or you prefer to do it with a director in the studio?
I prefer to go into the studio. Sometimes I have a director. Oftentimes, I don't, which is great that folks trust
Hmm.
in my work. I don't have to have that, but I actually prefer it. I prefer uh, giving that side of the microphone their due and letting them bring their magic in terms of engineering, and if I'm working with a director, collaborating in that way,
Right.
and just handling this side of the microphone. I like it like that.
There you go. That's you get to focus on the one thing that you do
Yeah,
well, and that does
yeah,
make a big difference. And it's
yeah,
made a big difference for you. I mean, you've really hit it jumping into this thing. When you got in to audiobooks, and you're saying it's 20 years ago approximately, it
yeah.
was
Not quite, but almost.
a whole different world back then, wasn't it?
Uh, I guess so. I guess so. Have you been? I don't know how long you've been doing it, Basil. How long have you
I've
been
been
doing it?
doing it since 2006.
2006. Okay, so that's close. That's close. I would say for me, I think 2000-ish is when I started. So I guess so. Tell me some ways that you think that it's different.
Well, of course, myself trying to get into it at that time and living in Alaska was pretty much impossible. But
I'm sure.
once first came podcast novels,
Yep.
which I was able to break in with that, and then came ACX a few years later, and it's like, oh, this makes it easy. And then
Right.
the publishers started calling. But getting
Sure.
into the studio gigs was nigh on impossible,
Right.
being in
Well,
my.
I think one big difference is that there has been such an advent of home studio work
Right.
that's happened. So back in the day, I think it's pretty common people would go into the studio, and then crash happened, various things happened to cause I think publishers to revisit their um, financial models, and so things like that. In terms of, I'm just trying to think about in terms of other aspects. When I started, I think probably it was more the idea more common that we're going to just read a book to you, and maybe that's a slight exaggeration, but the idea that we are narrating the book to you now and we are just reading the book like this was pretty much in vogue, and I would say that's probably more old school to back in the day when audiobooks were first getting going.
Hmm.
I think nowadays many people, many listeners, they want to hear the book brought to life, which is not to say that that might not be appropriate for some books to simply read or very measuredly, read it. But
Hmm.
others I think want to hear, the story come to life, the characters come to life through whatever your creative lens is.
Right, right. In that vein, do you do a lot of you do both fiction and nonfiction?
I do.
Do you have a preference for one over the other?
I don't.
Good answer. Good answer.
Well, here's the thing. Because I get to do both, and because I get to do so many different genres, I
Hmm.
don't recognize that I have a preference
Oh, there you
of one
go.
or the other right now. But I really do enjoy getting to bounce back and forth.
Mm, that's good. Do you feel like sometimes you should get be awarded an extra degree for the nonfiction work that you do? I mean, if I read a
I've,
scientific book, I feel like, oh man, I should get some college credit for this.
I haven't thought about it like that, but I will tell you this: I really appreciate getting to do those books. I recently did, I mean, a little while ago, but I listened to it again. Broca's Brain by Carl Sagan,
Mm,
and Carl Sagan was an amazing person and scientist and philosopher and theorist. And just diving into that great work and living in that world, grappling with it, I learned a lot. But also, you just take a ride on his expansive mind. So, and it's
Right.
been the same with like, I did a book, Death by Black Hole, Neil deGrasse Tyson, a
Mm.
long time ago, and that's great. So yeah, I haven't thought about getting an extra degree, but I think I might get I might get the real MVP degree just by getting a chance to do it.
There you go. There you go. Just reading it right up. Uh,
Exactly.
so, well, that's pretty cool. And you've lived in New York your whole life, or are you from somewhere else originally?
I'm from Cincinnati originally, Cincinnati, Ohio, and
Oh,
I grew
okay.
up there first 18 years of my life, and then I went to college, and I've been in New York now for a long time, a long time. So, in New York is definitely home now.
Mm. You've grown roots, planted it down there in the asphalt.
Evidently, New York is a great place. It's one of the great cities of the world, and it's fantastic. And we put up with a few things to live here too that maybe some other places you don't have to put up with. But it's interesting because on those days you're like, okay, I need to get out of here. You go someplace, and then the TV comes on or some movie comes on, and you're like, oh, that's my home there.
I got to go back. I got to go back. I feel the same way about my home here. So,
Hey, listen, I've not been to Anchorage, but a couple years ago I visited some friends up in Juneau,
mm,
and I loved it. I longed to go to Alaska, and I'm really glad that I got a chance to, and I look forward to coming back.
it's a beautiful place. We'll have you here. If you come up into the Anchorage area, I'll treat you to a barbecue of some of our
Thanks,
wild.
man. Thanks, man. You don't be surprised when I knock on your door and say, "So, which style you grilling today?"
Very cool. So, did you
Hey, man,
always?
hold on just one second. I want to make sure that I'm charging. Forgive me,
Okay,
but I
good.
don't want to run out on you. Hang on one second.
Okay.
I think so. Let's
Good.
see. Hold on. Let me just put it in this one just to make sure. Yes, all is right with the universe now.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, when you were a kid, did you always want to be an actor, or did you have other goals and aspirations?
When I acted from a young age. I acted in high school, and I had the opportunity to be in this creative dramatics class for kids when I was, like 12
Hmm.
on, and I all I know is I really enjoyed it.
Right.
But I actually did not think I was going to be a professional actor. I
Hmm.
thought when I started college, I was in political science, thinking I was going to go to law school or something like that, and I got disavowed of that idea pretty quickly. And I feel really fortunate that I found what, at least in this journey, has been a really fruitful and delicious calling for me. It's been great.
That's very good. That's very good.
Yeah.
What would you say in your experience is the major differences performance-wise between screen, stage, and audio?
Uh, that's a great question. I guess they're different media. So in the same way that we make adjustments being in front of the camera as opposed to being on stage, we also make those adjustments as well being behind the microphone. On stage, first of all, it's live. You can't go back. You can't
Mm,
edit. You can't retake. So you have to bring it, and you have to be able to sustain the bringing it. So basically, you have to be able to stay in the moment all the way through. And also your projection, of course, is
right.
different depending on the size of the theater. In front of the camera, similar to being in front of the microphone, um, the camera's right there, so it's picking up every little nuance. So that's an adjustment that's very important to make as well. And I would say, in terms of narration, a really important adjustment to make is that not only is the microphone picking up everything, but so you don't have to necessarily work so hard, but that besides the characters, also everything is coming through the narrator's lens, the lens of you. And you don't have to do anything about that either, because when you read a book, the movie starts playing in your mind anyway without you having to do anything, right? But I think it is an important thing to be aware of before you come to the microphone, if you will. So that's what I would say.
That's pretty good. What advice would you give to a new narrator coming up that's trying to break into this thing, or you got maybe one or two titles out there, and what advice would you give to them, first off, performance-wise?
Performance-wise, I would say, well, the first thing I would say is, this may sound like a no-brainer, but be sure to read the book. I know, but I just feel it's important to say it, because you will find out things in reading the book that will inform everything you do.
Right.
And so performance-wise, I would say never try to be clever. Never try to be clever. And I was gonna say something one way, but I'm gonna flip it around to a positive, and that is, just be true and open to your creative impulse in response to the text. So all that means is, there's no need to try to be fancy. You will. Why I say don't try to be clever is because if something is funny to you, or if you find something humorous, or if you find the humor in it, you won't need to be clever about it. It'll already be present with you.
Right.
And I'm a big believer in keeping it simple, sweetheart.
There you go.
So by that I mean, as opposed to like, oh, it would be great if I did a big flourish here. We can make those decisions, but also I think, just let the text lead you, and as you bring whatever you're bringing to it, that'll already be enough, I think.
Right. Oh, that's pretty good. That's actually a deep philosophical thing. You ever thought about becoming like one of those gurus, get your own ashram thing going? And
I never thought about it. You think I should?
Sure. Sri Rajneesh microphone.
All I can say is that a lot of those guys seem to really got it worked out in terms of making sure that they're taken care of.
Yeah.
But I think I'm happy to share. I think I'll stay off the ashram as far as that goes.
What about the business side? For instance, for some guy living out in the Midwest somewhere, working out of a home studio, he's the director, the engineer, the narrator, and the business manager, the front desk secretary, the scheduling person.
Yes.
A lot of folks in that situation look outside of themselves and they say, oh man, it'd be so much easier if I was like Dion, or if I was like Simon, or it'd be so much different.
Sure.
Is that true?
Well, it would definitely be, there would be a few hats that you wouldn't have to wear. You wouldn't have to be your own engineer. You might still be your own director if you were Dion. And in terms of dealing with the business side, in terms of dealing with the publishers and your producers, I think that might pretty much remain the same, actually, because I certainly, you have relationships with people, and when I'm booking something, or when I'm preparing a script, I'm certainly, in deep conversation with them. And I'm fortunate I get to work with big publishers and small publishers. I just did a great piece, the new book of John Edgar Weideman's, called American Histories. I just did for Novel, which is our first time working together. I had a really lovely experience working with them, and it's a great, important piece of work, actually. But I would say, it might not be quite as different as you think. Some people work with their agents, and so they just are insulated from all that. But, I've been doing this for a long time now, and, a lot of us know each other already. We already have relationships, so I don't really. Occasionally, something will come through my agent, and then I honor that. But otherwise, you just have to communicate. One thing I would say is always do be friendly. I don't mean strategically friendly,
right.
But just try to be friendly and open, and ask for what you need. And in case there's an impasse, be willing to negotiate. And also think it's important to know where you where you are to. Sometimes when we're first starting out, you're not in the same position as you are as when, you've been doing it for a long time and have garnered, various accolades, and, just knowing where you are in terms of what you can ask for.
Right.
But I always think it's great to ask for the support you need, and just whatever things that will make your job easy and free and good and make you feel good.
There you go.
Does that make sense?
That does. And I think that's a key thing, is to enjoy what you're doing, and don't make it overcomplicated. Just jump.
Keep it simple, sweetheart.
That's it. That's like one of the key phrases that everyone needs to learn, not only in this business but life in general. So,
Right on.
So, on a side note, on a personal note,
Yes, sir.
what do you do for enjoyment and relaxation?
Oh, what do I do for enjoyment and relaxation? Well, I'm a big nature boy. I love to hike and and be outside and all that. I live in New York, so it's a bit more involved getting out there. But we have lots of nature here too.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there will be no secret that I love to read, and I do. Getting together with people that you like, and sharing good times, movies. I mean, I like all kinds of things.
Just you're an all-around Renaissance man here. You're a little bit of everything.
Yeah, something like that.
If you had a title from the past, and any era of the past, it could be yesterday, a title that you haven't done, what's a title that you would love to do?
Wow. That's a great question. There might be a few of those. Here, War and Peace popped in my mind, but I haven't even read the book yet, so I don't know that I'd love to do that. But that would be an epic undertaking.
Yes.
I tell you what else popped into my mind. There's a book that's been on my mind that I read a few years ago that I would really like to record. And that is this book called American Savior by Ronald Marullo, which imagines that what if Jesus came back, but not in the guise of what people popularly think about when they think about Jesus, but as just a regular guy. And he came back during an American election cycle and decided to run for president.
Huh.
It's a funny book, but it also has a lot of interesting, thought-provoking things to say. That would be a great book. I hope one of these days, when the rights situation gets settled, to be able to record the autobiography of Malcolm X. That would be a dream come true, to do that.
Oh yeah.
Are there other? I mean, it's great science fiction, of course. There's this book I read years ago that, just because of its meaning to me when I read it, that I'd love to do it. It's from The Legend of Beale, or Biel, if you prefer, by Mary Stanton. That would be great to record. I don't know. If we go on, I'll probably come up with 30 or 40 others.
You'll have endless work just from your dream titles.
And what's wrong with that?
There you go. So, have you traveled? I know you mentioned earlier you've been back and forth to London for various things. Where else in the world have you traveled? What regions of the world do you really like?
Oh, wow.
And I know we're getting personal here, but we're trying to draw a diagram.
No, that's quite all right. Quite all right. All I can say is, the world is a great place. And there are lots of regions that I like. I would probably say, since you asked me, I would probably say that Hawaii is one place that I feel most at home on the planet. I've spent a lot of time there, and I can't wait to get back. But other places, I lived in Luxembourg when I was in college for a year, and that had a staggering influence because I hadn't really traveled much. I grew up in Cincinnati. Both my parents were from Kentucky, so we spent some time down there, of course, every summer. And I remember going on a trip to Michigan for a funeral. But until I actually had lived in Luxembourg, I hadn't really traveled, and it's like a portal opened up
Mm,
that just hadn't been there before, and it really changed it. It's where I got bitten by the travel bug that I'm
mm.
still deeply infected by. So Europe, kind of all over Europe, also Africa. Spent some time in North Africa, some time in West Africa and Liberia, and also some time in East Africa, in Tanzania and Zanzibar.
Wow.
Uh, Bali was great. It was amazing.
Mm.
Um, and many other places to get to too. And then, places in the United States like Alaska and other places,
Yeah.
I
Once you
love
get that,
travel,
it
man.
just kind of opens your eyes to, especially if you're from a small town or a place where, like Cincinnati, you drive north, south, east, west for 4 or 5 hours, and pretty much the region's the same. But
Sure.
then you get outside of that, and it's like, whoa, there's a whole other culture over here.
Yeah, and you know what? One thing that you really discover and you can really get your eyes open to is the fact that, people are living in all kinds of ways on
Yeah,
this planet and different cultures, and I think it's useful for people to have a chance to really, experience that, to be immersed in it, and come back to your own culture as well. And also, you find out that even though people are living in all kinds of different ways and they have their own particularities, uh, we're not that different.
yeah,
We're different and not that different.
yep, yep. That's true. We're all humans. We all have the same emotional things going on inside of us, just a different
Yeah,
context or backdrop to what we're
yeah,
doing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. So
I
what
agree.
what was your degree in again? You said it was you started off with political science. Did you finish that
I started off
degree
in
or?
political science. I started off in political science, and I finished my undergrad work in political science and theater after I decided to be an actor.
Ah,
Uh, or that's what I was going to pursue anyway. And then I did my training with Bill Esper at Mason Gross School of the Arts at Rutgers, and that was in acting. Yeah.
wow. So would you consider yourself a classically trained actor?
I guess so. Classically trained. It's funny because before if you'd asked me that years ago, I would think, okay, that means that you're trained in the classics. And for sure, we were trained to be able to handle classics, but we were really trained to be able to do any and everything, I would say.
Hmm.
And I think that is what defines a classically trained actor.
Right,
These.
right.
So yeah, I guess I would consider that. I feel
It's not
really
just that
fortunate.
you speak in Shakespearean English, but
No,
you,
it's whatever that is.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, no, right,
Slang of the
right.
day.
It's that I hope that what it means is that if a saw is called for, I got that. If a Phillips head is called for, I got that. If a plane is called for, I got that too.
There you go. There you go.
I hope anyway.
That's good. It's good to be well-rounded and reach out there, and that way you got all, like you said, all those tools in your toolbox that you can build the story of the mind that's going on.
Yeah, and I think, all joking aside now, though, I think that's really useful, and I guess this is what I would say to the young actor or narrator, and by extension to everybody, and that is just to be open to experience and to seek it out because it's useful. One, it's useful just in terms of identifying with other people, but when you're narrating, it's also useful to have experience that is outside of the booth and outside of just your own experience. Um, in terms of bringing whatever the situations you're encountering in the book to life, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, what experiences you've had are what define how you're going to define the story or how you're going to see the story through the
Right,
the lens of
right.
your personal experience.
That's right.
So like every time I do a science fiction novel, I'm out in space, I can rely on my experience of having been an international soldier on a spaceship in this kingdom in some life that I've apparently imagined.
Yeah, see, now you're telling me about your vivid imagination. And that is an experience as well. Also, I say we're cracking, but we're facking, because that's an experience as well. You also, I think it's worthwhile to be open to your imaginative juices
Mm.
as well as you're working towards it. But again, it's not about let me find something that's really cool here. But if you are open to your imagination, all kinds of things can come up too.
Oh yeah,
So
and our imaginations are informed by our actual experiences.
right on,
You know,
right on.
we can only imagine what we think may be based on what we've done or seen or heard or thought we seen or heard, maybe on alternate substances or something. But it's an experience nonetheless. So
On all the different planets.
that's it on all of them. It's the same. Whether you got tentacles or arms and legs, it's the same mostly. The acid blood thing is kind of disconcerting, but everything else is the same.
A little bit.
Yeah. So my leprechaun roommates, I don't know if you are aware that I have 4 leprechauns that live in my basement,
I've
and
been hearing about these leprechauns.
they'd like to come up and ask you a couple of questions. So
All right.
so be warned. Hey guys, you ready?
Yeah, Mr. Basil, we're ready.
Okay, come on in. Come on in. All of you, crowd, don't get off my foot. Ouch. Okay, we're here.
Hi, Mr. Graham, how are you doing today?
I'm well. I'm well. How are you?
Good. My name is Neely. I'm the oldest of the 4 brothers, and I've got my brother, well, I'm Neely. Here's my brother Feely, and oh no, wait, I'm not the oldest. I'm Neely. I'm the second oldest. Sometimes I think I'm older because I'm smarter. But anyway, here's my brother Feely. Hello, I'm actually the oldest brother, and this is our brother Buffin. Hello. Buffin's not the
Hello,
brightest
Buffin.
one.
Hello, Buffin. And howdy, Neely and Feely.
And here's Bertold. He's the youngest. Hello, my name
What's
is
up, Berto?
Bertold. I'm the youngest, like he said.
What's up, Berto?
So anyway, we've got a question for you. Actually, a series of questions, because we're kind of confused genealogically, I think.
Genealogically.
So you're Dion Graham.
Yes, sir.
Are you related to Graham Norton? Because
To
he's
the
Graham.
best of to the best of my knowledge, no.
Okay, that's good. That's good, because well, yeah, that you're not Graham Norton. You're Dion Graham. Now here's another question that's more confusing to us. Are you related to that guy that's just Dion, the singer?
Oh, Dion Biasucci.
Is that his last name, or did you
I
just get
think that
sick?
I could be wrong. It might not be his last name, but I think it might be. The I'm not related to him, except in our great name. I like my name.
Oh, what about Dionne Warwick?
No, she spells her name differently, actually. Dione. I just spell it Dion. And I'm not related to her, but I'm a great admirer of her work. She's great.
Oh, I see. So you spell
What
your
do
name
you do
differently?
when you fall in love?
I,
Anyway.
I, I, I could tell you some stories about that, but I won't because it would be very disconcerting. So, anyway, here's a real life question for you.
Yes, sir.
Based upon intense research and digging through the annals of history, first, what period of time would you prefer to live in if you couldn't live in this period of time today?
What period of time would I prefer to live in if I couldn't live in this period of time today?
Yeah, like Doctor Who shows up in the phone booth and says, Plunk, you gotta leave, and we're gonna go to your choice of place, but it ain't here or now.
I might like to live in a time when we could easily travel to other worlds.
Ooh.
So that time might be either in the future. That time might also be, depending on which theories you believe in, it might also be in perhaps an alternate reality than the one we're living in now, or it might be, an interdimensional kind of reality.
So like stepping sideways and going into another place. Ooh,
Exactly.
what's that TV show? Demented Reality? No, not that one.
Which reminds me, by the way, your good friend Basil asked me before of books that I'd like to record, and of course, when I said that, just what we're talking about now popped into my mind, even though somebody's already recorded them. Ringworld would be great.
Oh yeah, that's the book where everyone wears a lot of rings, right?
No, 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 not that one.
Oh,
It's where there is it's not a planet. It's actually a man-made uh, 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 edifice that's in the shape of a big ring, but it's so huge you can't see the edges of it. It just looks like looks like the Earth a little bit.
Wow. So it's kind of like a giant hamster wheel in space.
Kind of, kind of.
That'd be a lot of running to get that thing going. Wow.
It sure would be.
Okay. Well, that's very important. Okay, we're going to give you a scenario, and you tell us what you would do in this scenario. You're sitting on the roof of your apartment building, just enjoying the sunshine. I don't know if you can actually climb to the roof of your apartment building, but I've heard such things before happening in big buildings like that. So anyway, you're on the roof of your apartment building enjoying the sunshine and sipping on your favorite cold beverage up there, and all of a sudden a helicopter comes up, but it's a silent helicopter. It's like the FBI, CIA, NSA special helicopter that they keep in a secret garage, because it's like makes no noise. And it just flies over top of you, and a rope comes down, and the guy rappels down this rope and says, "Hey, Dion, come with us. We're going to save the world. But you got to wear this vest and this helmet because you might get killed." Would you get in that helicopter with him?
Do I know anything about him at all?
He kind of looks familiar, like the guy that you stand next to getting bagels every morning on the way to the studio.
I might have to have a little bit more information before I get in that helicopter, because, it's a lot to risk.
It's a silent helicopter.
I know, but like in real life, I don't know if I could just jump into that helicopter without knowing a little bit more, because you never know. You never know if they're exactly who they seem to be, or if they're somebody else. Who knows?
Okay, maybe what if he's wearing like a ring on his finger from the same college you went to, and suddenly you have this fuzzy memory of getting drunk with him one night, like 20 years ago.
That might not be enough either, because if I have a fuzzy memory of getting drunk with him one night, I might not know still.
That's a good point. You're a wise man, because like he said, you'd probably get killed. So that's a good choice to make. What if he offers you a cup of coffee?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Okay.
I love coffee, but I never developed a caffeine habit. So, even though I have coffee about 20 times a year, that would not be enough.
And it's always a good idea not to take a beverage from someone that you don't really know or have fuzzy memories of being intoxicated.
This is true. This is really true.
Yeah, that's how my brother Boffin did that one time, and well, that's how he ended up being Boffin, because you don't take coffee from strangers or candy.
No, not if you want to live to tell about it.
That's right. Well, anyway, we got to get back because it's early in the morning here, and we got to go cook breakfast for the family. So we're going to go down that road while you go down the other road with Basil, and we'll meet you at the high road. You take the
Sounds good. I look forward to seeing you guys at the crossroads.
Yes, we'll meet you at the crossroads, and we'll be the short guys. Okay?
Will Robert Johnson be there too?
Absolutely. Who's he?
All right then.
Oh, just say yes. Okay. He'll be there.
All right.
Okay, guys,
Go make breakfast. Thank you, Mr. Bassett, for the opportunity to speak to him, because he's kind of a cool guy. And see ya. Bye, Dion.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Ciao.
All right, so that was the Leprechauns, and a nice bunch of guys. I'll have a lot of fun with them, but
Very pleased to make their acquaintance.
yes, and they're very pleased to meet yours as well.
Thank you.
Well, that pretty much makes a show right there, my friend. And it's been great having you on. Like I said, we've been trying to get together for a couple of years, and just things never met.
I dropped the ball before, just because just life. But I'm so glad to be on with you, man.
Me too. I'm glad. I took about a year break from the show because
Oh, you did?
because of life. I did between audiobooks, writing my own books, and then family,
great.
all that other
Yep.
stuff.
Same here.
It all fills up.
I mean, I didn't write any books, but family, life, work,
Well,
travel.
I tell you what, when we're doing audiobooks, it's always on a schedule. You got 2 weeks to do this, you got 4 days to do this, whatever it may be.
Yep.
In my writing side of my life, I had always been self-published until the last couple years, and having to write a novel on a contract for a publisher that says I need it by this day to get it in the queue for prepping for print Man, that's a lot of pressure. I thought doing an audiobook in like 3 days was a lot of pressure. Writing a 100,000-word novel in a year is a lot of pressure. And so
There is.
my forehead getting farther and, getting taller and taller, I think, is that's the result of the stress, the pressure.
Hey, man, I understand. But congratulations, though, on all of
Thank you.
that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a
I
lot of
don't
fun.
think, I think the last time we saw each other in the flesh, was that in Kansas City?
No, it was probably Chicago APAC. So 2016.
Chicago. That's right. It was
Yep.
Chicago. Why do I think Kansas City? It
I
was
don't know.
Chicago. That's right. It was Chicago. Because I'm
We may
thinking
have
of
bumped
it
into
was a
each other in
barbecue,
Kansas City. It
but
was what?
it was a barbecue restaurant that we were
Yes.
at, right?
Yes.
And that's why in my mind I'm like, it's
Place.
Kansas
Yeah.
City. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Yep. The whole gang was hanging out there, and I think
Yep.
that was the one where there was a bunch of drunk businessmen handing out
Yes.
the cinnamon shots to everybody. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. So are you going to be? I'm assuming at APAC this year.
I will be. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be at APAC, but I will be around APAC. I'm doing Johnny's um, workshop, the Splendiferous workshop.
Very nice.
So I'm going to be working with him for that. But he does. That's not part of APAC, right?
Not officially, no. That's his
Right.
own
Okay.
thing,
Right.
timed
So
with.
that, and I'll be around. I may crash the mixer.
Very.
But and then I'll be at the Audis and all that. So, but yeah, I'll be around. Are you going to be here?
I am not this year. I'm having some major surgical adjustments to my body. Getting a
You going to
new.
be okay?
Oh, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be better than I am for the last 20 years. My
Great.
uh, injuries I received in the Marine Corps as a 19-year-old kid, when you're 50, what was a minor pinch in the knee back then has turned into a need for
A thing thing.
today.
A thing thing.
A thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it, man.
Yeah.
Great. Well, tend to that. Also, it's expensive, so
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, one of these days, I really want to get up to Anchorage. I'm glad that. So my friends lived in Juneau for like 30 years,
Hmm.
and they were like, "When are you coming?" And in my mind's eye, Basil was always like, "Yeah, I want to come, but it's just so far. I want to." Now, which is silly, because of course it was just like an hour and a half farther from Seattle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
it's
just right.
To Juneau anyway. But I look forward to getting up to Anchorage sometime too, man.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think you'd love it here. We got huge mountains surrounding us and
And
ocean on the other side.
of course I'm going to love it. Of
Oh,
course I'm going to love it. First of all, it's on planet Earth, but second of all, there's beautiful nature, man. I'll be there.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. It is gorgeous. A friend of mine likes to say we live inside of a postcard up here, and
Right on.
that's the way it feels pretty much every day, except when there's a 100
Right
mile an hour wind and sideways rain and all that stuff. But that only happens once in a while.
Also, listen, we get some sideways rain sometimes here, and we get, there's weather every place.
Oh
What
yeah.
can you do?
Oh yeah. It's all swirling around us, and it's good that it's here because if it wasn't, well, there'd be no atmosphere, and we get sucked out into space, and that would be a kind of dreadful day.
Exactly.
So, well, anyway, thank you very much, Dion, for joining me on the show
Thank you,
today.
man.
I've had
Thanks,
a
man.
lot
I
of
really
fun,
appreciate it.
and I think the folks will like it out there. Folks, you got to like it out there.
All right, this show was brought to you by Sandman Production Studios of Alaska, and that was Dion Graham with Mr. Basil Sands, who's the proprietor of the show and the host in general. And this was copyright 2019, correction me. Copyright 2019, Sandman Production Studios and Basil Sands, and I'm Gerald the Troll, your announcer for the ending of the show. Happy New Year! Unless you're listening to this later. And then happy whatever day it is that's not New Year for you. Have a nice day.